And if they need to continue to confer, that's fine. But I would like to, yeah, we set 5 minutes for a recess. We'll ask the administrator a moment ago and wait to get her back in the room.
That'd be a good thing. Actually, do we need to get one more? After a while, I think they
oh, yeah.
I actually had a question.
Well, I know. I'm going to let them finish conferring on that. I don't know if you all looked at your email, but, Jeff Stewart just approved that he's an overachiever.
Oh, yeah?
Has already sent the information about the rental.
Hey! Jeff's on the ball. I like it.
Yeah, right. When you're looking at it. Yeah, right.
Okay. I'm going to call the Gardner City Council back to order. Ryan Dank?
Yeah, I've looked at his authority. Review of his cases didn't change my opinion. The statutory language still specifically, those two cases don't deal with the governing body overriding the Planning Commission's recommendation by rezoning less than the original area notice. They do deal with the proposition that the governing body can overturn the Planning Commission's recommendation by 2/3. However, the specific statutory language that I was referring to, talking about the Planning Commission can make a recommendation on the less than the original area noticed. Planning Commission is specifically noted there, and so I'd stand by my interpretation. I think that the rationale for that is that if the Planning Commission makes a recommendation or discusses rezoning less than the area notice, then the public would have an opportunity to comment on that at the public hearing. Whereas if it's the governing body that does it, that public hearing process, the statutory public hearing process, doesn't take place. But with that said, I think we talked about the idea of rezoning the entirety of it and restricting it through conditional use permit on those two commercial parcels. So that is an option available to you if you so desire.
Okay, the whole reason why I was kind of in favor of doing the exempting of those 2 commercial parcels was because we wanted to, streamline use of that property in the future. If a commercial entity decided they wanted to come in, they would have to go through the 2 or 3 month period to get that rezoned. And that's the reason why I would make a motion to remand to the planning commission, if only for that. Now, I may not have the votes on the council to do that, but it just makes sense from a land use perspective and from a economic development perspective to have that shovel ready, of that particular portion shovel ready as the appropriate zoning. I can see the down zone of the residential because that might take longer to develop, but that commercial plan site would be, almost an immediate thing.
Could the property owner just agree to rezone after we approve this?
Well, they can agree to make application, they can't agree to rezone because it still has to go through the public hearing process.
Right.
Or,
Go through the process again is what I'm
Right.
saying.
But it would cost them also money to do that. That's
well, not necessarily, we
No.
can waive.
unless we waive it.
We have a policy that allows us to, for certain circumstances, to waive. You all approved that, last governing body approved that.
And it doesn't also doesn't have to be the landowner that initiates the application, we could initiate that application. So, rezone the whole thing to ag, approve the CUP with the stipulation that they not do it on those parcels, then just in turn, if the applicant is agreeable to turn back around and carve out those commercial parcels and rezone them back to commercial, so.
I had a quick conversation with my client during the break, and he has offered to, if the council is willing to rezone the entire property, either the city can initiate or he will initiate, but immediately will initiate a rezoning of those 2 corner parcels, either back to what they were, or if city staff has a different view of that they would be better suited for something else, he will entertain that idea as well.
I'm good
And
with
I also have
Let's do it.
Before it was asked about the payback being 3 years, and I answered that, and it was pointed out to me that my answer was incorrect. The payback would be exactly the same because those wells will be reduced, so the capital investment will be reduced, so the payback wouldn't actually change. It would cost less money to drill, you would recover less money, but in the end, it would continue to be a 3-year payback. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ryan, you're comfortable with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion then to,
Well, we've got,
like to get this going.
yeah.
How do we specify that though in the motion?
I would probably make a motion to override the planning commission's recommendation, would I not?
Right.
Is that how I would do it?
But to clarify.
Well, actually, I think the motion, and I'll make the motion, would be to approve the rezoning.
Right.
To approve the rezoning.
So there's 2 actions, there's
Yes.
The
rezoning
second
and
action
And then the CUP.
would be stipulations.
The stipulations, would be appropriate on the CUP.
Yes.
Yeah, and we could, if we wanted to make sure that it happens, we control the time frame. We could stipulate that the staff could initiate the rezoning, which the
We could
applicant
do that.
said they're amenable to.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to get an affidavit from the landowner acknowledging consent, but, yeah.
I don't think that's gonna be a problem. So what we would make this motion, and then we would say with the stipulation that we would start a rezone action on the,
Yeah,
No, I don't-
we'll deal with the,
We don't want
Yeah,
we'll
you
deal with the
would-
next.
you would condition.
We'll deal with the next, motion when we get
That's
there.
fine, that's
Let's
fine.
get through this one first.
All right.
I would entertain a motion to approve the rezoning.
so moved.
Second.
Motion, I'm gonna give a second more to approve the rezoning of 156 acres located at the northeast corner of 167th Street and Waverly Road from RP1 Planned Single-Family Residential District, RP3 Planned Garden Apartment Residential District, CO Office Building District, CP2 Planned General Business District, to A Agricultural District. And I'll turn over the roll call to the city clerk, Jeannie.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Councilmember Melton?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Shute?
Yes.
Councilmember Winters,
Yes.
Mayor Morrow.
Yes. New business item number 8 in the rezoning passes. New business item number 9, consider a conditional use permit for oil wells on property located at the northeast corner of 167th Street and Waverly Road. Ryan?
Good evening, Mayor. I think if it's all right with you, I'll probably skip through some of the items. Sorry. You got
Sorry.
the original CUP that went before the Planning Commission did request 33 production wells and 32 injection wells. Just a quick picture on how this works. Production well is actually where they pull the oil out of the ground. Injection well is where they inject water into the layers of rock that forces the oil to the production wells. Comprehensive plan does identify this area for low-density housing and commercial development and not ag uses. That feels there are some potential hazards associated with oil wells and oil production. And these are listed some of the potential impacts. Spilling of salt water, oil, or mud can be unsafe to develop residential uses around existing or plugged wells. And they could use a large amount of water in the injection process. Planning Commission did recommend denial of the conditional use permit request and associated site plan for oil wells on the property. There are options before the council. If you wish to vary from this recommendation, you could return it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration, or you could override the Planning Commission's recommendation by, again, a 2/3 majority of the governing body. As the property was rezoned to agricultural, it would be nice to place a couple conditions on the CUP. One be that the applicant resubmit a site plan that shows the oil wells only on the property previously discussed, not the commercial ground. The property owner resubmit a legal description for the property associated with the not the commercial side. And those would be hard. And I think they actually offered up 20 years on the CUP.
That's correct.
The original submittal was for a 30-year CUP. Change that to 20. I guess I see about 3 conditions.
Ryan, Jeannie, you're comfortable with the 3 conditions? We've got an understanding of the conditions are.
Give them to me again.
As stipulated.
Okay. The 3 conditions would be that the applicant resubmit a site plan for oil production on only the property agreed upon, removing the commercial areas, that he resubmit a legal description for those properties, for that property, and that he reduce the CUP would be reduced from 30 years, which was originally submitted, to 20 years.
Is there not a fourth stipulation as well about the rezone, or is that?
No, I think.
I don't think it's part of the
We're gonna,
CUP.
I mean, well, I don't think, you can't add that as a stipulation.
Exactly, I thought not.
I mean, we can handle that in 1 of 2 ways. Either we can, ask that they refile, or that they file an application, or the governing body or the Planning Commission can initiate zoning changes. And so after this item is concluded, you can then basically move to amend the agenda and add as an item that you're requesting that a rezoning be initiated on those 2 commercial parcels.
Okay.
And you can do that by simple motion. That will initiate the process, and we can start going down that road.
Well, and the process should, when we're making that motion, the process should start with the Planning Commission, correct?
Right, and then we'll go to the Planning Commission. So, something else I wanted to clarify, rezones, and then I think the CUPs out here as well, are all codified by ordinance.
Mhm.
We don't have an ordinance with the correct legal description here tonight. So it'll probably have to come back to you all at the next meeting to be formalized.
I kind of like
Yeah.
that idea, because I'd rather have a legal description. And honestly, let's we're sitting here talking about approving it with stipulations, but they're not memorialized either, so. Which just means that we'd bring it back at the next meeting to vote on it. You understand? The applicants, you understand what we're?
We do. The applicant's agreeable to all of the conditions that staff's requested, and we would be willing to bring back the amended site plan and the legal description to the next meeting as well.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right, so we're going to continue, we're gonna need a motion to continue this to the April 15th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
To the what
To the,
I'm
to the
sorry,
June.
June 15th.
About June first.
Yeah, okay, June 15th.
Um,
Like, we're going back in.
I don't know, did you see the weather that was out there today? So.
You just mean the
yeah.
next meeting, Mr. Mayor?
June first?
June,
June first?
June 1st?
Yeah, the next meeting,
Okay.
Okay, June 1st, sorry.
the next meeting,
Thank you.
which would be June 1st. So, the motion was,
Shoot.
second was more, that we continue this, item until the next meeting, which would be June 1st.
And at that time, we'll also have an item on the agenda to initiate the rezone with the planning commission.
Right.
Okay.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No abstentions? This item is continued. Thank you, gentlemen. New business item number 10. Consider a proposed rezoning from RP5 and CP2 to CP2 and the associated preliminary development plan, Regency West, on property located on the northwest corner of 188th Street and South Gardner Road, Z-15-02, and PDP 15-01. Brian.
Thank you,
Keeping
Mayor.
you on your feet this evening.
If agreeable, I would like to present new business items 10 and 11 together.
It's agreeable.
The applicant does request the following: rezoning of 6.9 acres from RP5 and CP2 to CP2. Approval of an associated 19.09 acre preliminary development plan for a multifamily and commercial development. An approval of a final plat for Orslin Addition, FP 1501, with conditions, and accept the dedication of easements and rights of way. It should be noted that this property was zoned RP5, Planned Apartment House District, and CP2, Planned Commercial District in 2008, with an associated preliminary plan. The proposal is very similar to what was approved in 2008, with the exception that the commercial district boundary is shifted about 85 feet to the west, so that's the area in the red box right there. This increases the commercial area in size, and this will thus reduce the amount of residential. The comprehensive plan does identify this property as low-density residential. However, the property is currently zoned for commercial and multifamily. Additionally, the property to the south is zoned for commercial and identified in the comprehensive plan as low-density residential. Staff feels that even though the zoning is not consistent with the comprehensive plan, the property is suitable for commercial and multifamily because of the adjacent development and the property location and current zoning. The preliminary development plan proposes development of medium-rise apartments and retail uses. The code does permit a preliminary plan to also act as the preliminary plat, as long as all the preliminary plat information is included on the plan. The plan district allows for deviations from certain standards with approval from the Planning Commission. This is the area that would be zoned CP2. It has 2 lots. Orslin's would be located on the northern lot. The multifamily is off to the left, which is lot 3. Things the staff did identify in reviewing the plans, area in green is the only area for a trash dumpster. That's one of the things, when a complex of that size, there'll need to be additional dumpsters. And one other thing that we did note, there needs to be access, to the south. This does not abut 188th Street, but right now as designed, there's only one access point just south of Orsoms into the property to serve both commercial tracts as well as the multifamily behind. We need to get another access point to the south, and so they have to reserve that. The corridor overlay district, which this is part of, those regulations apply to this development. This district states that no parking in front of a building. The applicant is requesting a variance for this through the planned development property. The area shaded in purple is where he would choose to park. Okay. At the April 28th meeting, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider the proposed rezoning and the preliminary development plan. The applicant was the only party that spoke during the public hearing. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward the proposed rezoning and associated preliminary development plan with conditions to the governing body with a recommendation for approval. I know on the screen those are very difficult to see. There were 9 conditions. One was add the square footage and acreage to the front page of the preliminary development plan. Correct the parking summary, total number of units and units per acre for Lot 3. Show the large future drainage easement on the northwest corner of the property delineated as an easement rather than a flat line. There's a tremendous volume of water that flows through this property. Add 11 additional parking stalls to Lot 3. Add a second trash facility. Add a note to the plan that states sidewalk sections along 188th Street frontage that are damaged or that exceed ADA minimum acceptable cross slope shall be replaced by the applicant prior to issuance of occupancy permits for this development. Add a note to the plan that states property owner shall immediately notify the city if any spill occurs on the site that has the potential to enter the stormwater conveyance system. It's a requirement of NPDES Phase 2. Add a note to the plan that states site entrances may become limited to right in and right out with the installation of a median on South Gardner Road at some point in the future. And revise the preliminary development plan to show a connection from the private lot or from the private drive located on Lot 3 along the western property line of Lot 2 to the associated southern property line for future connection to 188. This is the one in kind of turquoise right there. And if I could continue, the final plat. The applicant is also proposing a final plat for 4.197 acres for commercial development. The site is currently zoned RP5 and CP2, and the zoning is proposed tonight to be changed to have the entire site CP2, and the preliminary development plan associated with the rezoning acts as the preliminary plat for the site. The proposed lot has 436 feet fronting South Gardner Road. No new public streets are being proposed as part of this plat, but they are dedicating an additional 20 feet of right-of-way. Currently, there's 40 feet of right-of-way along the west side of, west of the center line on South Gardner Road. This is an arterial. We need at least 60 feet on each side of the center line for future improvements. So with the addition of 20, that'll give us the 60 feet that we need. The subject property has never been part of a final plat and therefore is subject to excise tax. This tax is based on the square footage of the plat property, excluding any rights-of-way. So it's 4.197 acres minus the 20 feet times 436. It works out to 3.997 acres, or 174,000 square feet. And the excise tax for the property would be $34,819.40. And this tax must be paid prior to the releasing of the final plat. Planning Commission, at their April 28th meeting, the Planning Commission heard the item, and the applicant was the only party to speak. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to approve the final plat and send it to the governing body for approval and acceptance of easements and rights-of-way with the following conditions. The associated rezoning and preliminary development plan shall be approved and published prior to the release of the final plat. access easement and utility easement and drainage easements that are to be completed by separate instruments shall be recorded, and the book and page shall be noted on the plat prior to recording of the final plat, and the required excise tax shall be paid prior to release of the final plat. The suggested motion this evening would be to approve the rezoning, case Z 1502, and the associated preliminary development plan, PDP 1501, for Regency West with the 9 listed conditions, and adopt ordinance 2485 approving the rezoning. And if that is approved, we would recommend that the council approve the final plat for Orson's Addition, FP 1501, with the 3 conditions, and accept the dedication of easements and rights of way.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. We'll open the floor for public comments on new business item number 10 and subsequently new business item number 11. Is there anyone in attendance that would like to make a comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Good evening.
council members. I am Thomas Nolte with Nolte and Associates, architects and land planners, and I represent tonight Lance Johnson, the applicant, and with me is Aaron Gaspers with Platt & Strobel, our civil engineer. I really don't have a lot to add to Brian's presentation. It was very good, but I would like to share with you some things. We had excellent guidance in this project. Michelle took great lengths to write staff report. In fact, she wrote a staff report that's specifically for architectural enhancement of the building, items 11 through 24. And she wrote them in such a way that we could answer them. And we answered every one of them, so that when we got to our staff report for the Planning Commission, we had nothing really to talk about too much, except that basically she was satisfied. But also Brian helped us in all of the meetings, and this wasn't just one meeting, this was 4 meetings over a year and a half, because we had worked on this project at a different location, found out that it was best to move it to this location. It's an interesting project from the standpoint that really what we're here tonight, we're moving a line 85 feet, so that caused a rezoning. And then the plat is basically the recording of these new lines. So we still have the same R5, we still have the same CP2, but now that we actually know the dimensions of the Orscheln, we have identified a hard tenet. And so that led to lot 1, the balance led to lot 2, and the remainder became lot 3. And so that's kind of really all I got to share with you. We have looked at all the comments, we agree with all the comments, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have. But really, the main thing was, and I also want to talk about Mark Pottinger. Mark Pottinger, in his unique way, asked lots of questions and got us to answer some great questions, and I think that helped our project too. So between Michelle and Brian and Mark, and the 4 meetings that we had, and the Planning Commission, because we really came to them and said, you know, how do we go about processing this? What's the best way to handle this, and how do we move forward, and how do we adhere to the city's design guidelines? And we received excellent help. So my main activity tonight is not to add anything that's already been said, but just to express our thanks.
Well, thank you, Thomas. That is fantastic to hear. Does anyone else have any further public comments they would like to make? Because if not, we can move on to questions, whether they're for Brian or for the applicants who are here. With nobody coming forward, questions for Brian or the applicants?
I don't really have questions. I do have a comment, and I think that this speaks very positively to the synergies that can take place between an applicant and our city staff when we have things right. And I think that's a good harbinger for folks who will be interested in coming to Gardner for economic development in the future. we're a different place than we were 5 years ago. And I appreciate the kudos from the applicant and as well as the hard work of our city staff, and particularly Brian and the economic development folks. It's a new day in Gardner, and I hope that this is showing that.
Yeah, no kidding, Thomas. I mean, I'd like to put you right in front of the camera and have you say all that again.
Yeah.
The one that we've got is kind of
It's in the back of your
behind
head.
you. But, no, thank you
Yeah.
for the kind words, and Brian in the interim and the staff have stepped up to the challenges that are required, helping us move forward, you know, now that we've got some of the tools in place to really help us develop, and it's great to hear from you guys. Thanks so much. And unless someone else has a question or a comment, I would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 2485.
So moved. Second.
Motion Shoot, second Melton, that we approve rezoning Z-1502 and the associated preliminary development plan, PDP-1501, for Regency West with the conditions as stated, and adopt ordinance number 2485 approving the rezoning. Harrison?
Yes.
Melton?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Shoot?
Yes.
Winter?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2485 passes. Already suggested that if anyone had public comments on new business item number 11 to come forward, with no one coming forward, questions about approval of the final plat. If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Moore, second Shoot, that we approve the final plat for Orchland Addition at P-15-01 with conditions as stated, and accept the dedication of easements and right-of-way. This is a governing body vote, so I'm going to turn over the roll call to the city clerk.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Councilmember Melton?
Yes.
Councilmember Moore?
Yes.
Councilmember Shute?
Yes.
Councilmember Winters?
Yes.
Mayor Morrow?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. That brings us to the end of new business. Considering the length of the agenda, it's nice to see that it's the right side of 10 p.m.
Yes, I agree.
Council updates. Does staff have anything for council? Jeff, I see you there.
Just real quick, if I could, and I'll keep this on the right side of 10 p.m., I promise, just a minute. Back in October, we were provided some directions, some approval to do some improvements, some rehab work at the Gardner Aquatic Center. So at that time, I promised to share some before and after pictures, so I'm going to share just a few with you this evening, so you can get a little sneak peek. As a recap, the majority of the work included replacing the lap lane pool gutters, and that was successfully done. Actually, our contractor said, "Good job, guys. It's great that you did it. It was even worse than what we expected." So it may have been just in the nick of time before we had some major problems. Painted both pools, repairs and coating of all the slides at the swimming pool, additional security cameras, replacement of old pool deck furniture, bathhouse roof replacement, and then replace some worn float walk pads and safety pads in the pools, and then working on some ventilation improvements in one of the pump rooms. So as promised, here's a before picture that we took at the end of last season of the main slide tower, and this is a picture I took of it today. Really pops well. Of the main play feature, a picture that was taken at the end of last season, recoated and rehabbed, functioning very well today. Here's your old pool gutters
There's no sign of them anywhere at the complex anymore today. It looks like a new swimming pool, and I walked all the way around it today, and the skimmers are working perfectly all the way around it. So, really appreciate the support in taking care of our recreation facilities, and we'll be excited to open on this Saturday, May 23rd, with some fun and games and prizes and food. I am not in charge of the weather, but the rest of it we'll work on. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
You want to mention anything about I think there's bands in the park, event before the next council meeting, isn't there?
Certainly. The following weekend, we'll have our first of our series of Bands in the Park. And I don't know if Danica's still here this evening. She actually put together a little promo video for us. She helped us out with that, and that is on the city website as we speak. So everyone can get a little sneak peek of not just our first performer, but of all the performers in the series throughout the summer. So hoping for great stuff there.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. Brian, anything?
Just a couple things. We had Carrie Butler in the audience tonight. She's our new code compliance inspector, and she stepped out 3 minutes ago. She wanted to introduce herself to you this evening. The other thing, we had a comment from the public today about mold. That particular situation, as an update, her and her husband do rent a property here in town. They called the city to see if there was a way that we could come and investigate the mold, but there was also some other issues. We did receive their written permission to enter the site. There were a number of issues with the home. Mold wasn't that noticeable where we were at, but there were definitely some other issues. We did notify the property owner. He has come in and agreed to take care of those. But as from a mold perspective, Ryan provided us a couple of sections in the code. Chapter 8 has structures unfit for human use. I don't think necessarily we have a rental where we license rental properties at this point in time in place, which would allow us to do inspections each time they're rented or on an annual basis. But we really, from a staff level, don't have much to do with mold. I mean, we can't test it. There's all kinds of different kinds of mold. She mentioned 6, but 3 were bad. We just don't have that expertise on staff, so that's something that they would be required at this point to do themselves.
Which it sounds like they did, right? It sounds like they did do something.
Right. They did it, so.
Okay.
I mean, what is her recourse, though? I mean, if obviously she has a newborn baby and has to
Right.
have a
I
house.
believe they've moved out of the property. There were a number of issues. There was a furnace in the baby's bedroom.
Oh, my goodness.
The dryer vented to the crawl space, so nothing like warm, moist air into the crawl space. The gutter had fallen down on top of the electrical wiring and was rubbing it raw. I mean, there's a number of issues with the property that the property owner's addressing.
So she's moved out, so it's more of a,
I believe she has moved out.
Is this a foundation structure, or is this a mobile home we're talking?
Foundation structure.
It is a foundation structure. Okay.
Like, again, the property owner has come in after receiving the letter, has agreed to address the items identified.
What about renter protections? I know that we had kind of touched on that we didn't have any kind of an ordinance on the books regarding, protection, basically fire protection of rental properties and inspections. Is that something that we might want to investigate for the future in case we have these things happen again? I mean, do municipalities have that on?
Yes, municipalities have them. I've worked in some jurisdictions where we have had rental housing ordinances. And basically what we do is it's part of the licensing process. It's an annual licensing. It also requires an inspection. So if that's something that the governing body is interested in, we'd be more than happy to work with legal and talk with you about what's involved in a rental licensing program.
I know that other cities in Johnson County and across Kansas have been adopting similar things. protect the health and welfare of the people that are living in their cities, so,
Yeah.
that's something that,
I'd be in favor of something that would give the renter some recourse.
Right.
yeah, so, my guess is that this is going to be an item that's going to bring comment from the public, probably
agree.
from both sides of the aisle.
Oh, yes.
It's going to need to be probably a work session. I think we should probably try and get an idea of a plan and get a work session scheduled, but, I do know that we're heading into.
Our work session calendar's pretty packed.
It's filling up. So we need
We're at
to,
26.
we do need to, we need to try and get it in as soon as possible, but I understand that there's an awful lot of other things that are going on right now. Let's just get it slotted as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
Everybody's okay with that, right? Yes. All right. Brian, did you have anything else?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Cheryl, did you have anything?
Yes, since we're talking about work sessions, and I'm in charge of making sure we have enough work sessions, June 1st at 6 o'clock, we're going to be talking about the governing body rules and procedures. If you haven't submitted comments to the clerk, if you could please get them to us ASAP so that we have the benefit of everybody.
Drop dead date for comments?
So we have them tomorrow, so we can, we're really beyond being able to, I want to get you an agenda in a timely manner, so I'd like to have them tomorrow, please. We have some, but we just don't have comments.
I know, I turned mine in already.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
Councilman.
yes, good. 2 of the 6
We got
of
yours
us
by
have
the
turned
deadline.
in
Thank you.
comments. I think, it'd be great if we could have a couple more people.
You're keeping
turn
yours to
in some
yourself,
comments. No, I'll turn mine in too. Hey, listen, I'm not, yes, I wasn't claiming that I was one of the 2. I will say that. Anything else, Cheryl?
Yes, I have one more opportunity for you to meet. Thursday afternoon, we're going to talk about kind of the next step with economic development, which is economic development, branding, and marketing, and how critical it is to deal with branding, marketing, and making sure that you're postured for development. And Kansas City Area Development Council has graciously agreed to send us their Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications and an additional staff person, so 6 to 8 is what we're going to be working with on Thursday.
Yeah, you squeeze that out of them.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. At the Senior Center.
Yeah, and you squeezed that out of them for free, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I was able to squeeze that out of them.
I like
Very
free,
good.
I like free.
We all like free.
I've leveraged that relationship for free.
All right, anything else from you, Cheryl?
That's it, sir.
Ryan? Laura? Jeannie? Chief?
Yeah, I got a couple things. We added a crime map to the police department website this week. Great illustration of what's going on in the different neighborhoods. It'll give us an opportunity to, create conversation, engage the community. I'm hoping to make the map bigger, working with the web developer to try to get that, but it's a great tool for us to, go in the communities, engage people, and talk about what's going on in their neighborhoods. Also added a couple forms. One is an online traffic complaint form. We've already got 3 or 4 of those, and have responded very quickly, got great reaction from that. And the other one is a suspected narcotics activity form. Great way to get information and make contacts without having people, respond to the police department, and can do that in an environment that they're comfortable in. I've got the 4 bicycles are in. We got them put together. The last officer to be trained is in training this week, and we'll be ready to go. When my goal was to have them ready by the festival, and we're gonna meet that timeline, so, hoping to have them out at the bike rodeo in a couple weeks. And finally, made a couple promotions. Lieutenant Jay Belcher and Lieutenant Lee Kraut started in those new roles last week. On Friday, I'm gonna promote, Jacob Hayes to sergeant.
Excellent.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Did we have a new utility vehicle come online?
Oh, actually, the 2 SUVs came in.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, and they're up at KCOM right now, getting the lights and radios and stuff put in. I expect to have those back in a week, and then we'll send them out for the graphics, and I'm also shooting for the festival to have those done as well.
And there was a release from the officer involved,
Yeah.
shooting investigation team. I know that wasn't as comprehensive as maybe,
Oh, you talking about the press release?
Yeah.
Yes, the DA, released just a short statement saying the officers have been cleared of any wrongdoing.
okay. Very good. Well, thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Comments from the council. Lee, you have anything?
I just have one item. I was wondering if we could get, consensus maybe for having, the airport board meet in chambers on camera.
I'm fine with that.
I've been looking for that for a while, so,
100%
yes.
behind
Absolutely.
Is there, can we schedule?
Transparency.
What would the schedule be like for them? I know it's pretty full for the
It's pretty full.
chambers.
Danica, you can film it with your phone, right?
It is. We'll
You know,
figure something out.
I wanna say they're usually first Monday of the month,
Second Monday?
Second Monday.
second Monday of the month, which is
I don't
usually
think there's
open.
Except we've got work sessions for like the next 6 months.
Bazillion years.
Second Monday of the
I
month.
don't think there's a regular meeting on that.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry.
I don't think there's a regular meeting on the second Monday right now that's scheduled in the council chambers.
Okay,
No regular meetings on,
well,
we can look into it more.
let's make contact with, the airport board and let them know that they need to be meeting in council chambers and it
Sure.
needs to be recorded.
We'll do.
That's all.
Anything else from you? Christie? Steve?
The only thing I had was about, we wanted to readdress the sidewalks issue, and we wanted to talk about that during council updates. Is there any possibility we could get consensus from the body to authorize Public Works to start a study on, what it would take to get the sidewalks put in 175th?
I think
At a
that-
minimum, 175th.
Yeah, I think that we ought to, and this is up to the consensus of the group, but I think, yes, let's get the look at it, because the problem is with the
Yeah.
open drainage ditch.
Yep.
It's not just, the $5 per
No.
square feet of the sidewalk.
We gotta bury that culvert.
There's also the consideration for development.
Yeah.
Sure.
If you, 175th Street is very much undersized.
Yes.
When that property develops, it's just south of the high school, you'll need a minimum of a 3-lane road.
I agree.
Sure.
And so that'll be curb and gutter, there'll be, the location is, we'd hate to put something in, whether it's asphalt or concrete, that in hopefully just a couple of years, if that property develops, it would turn right back out.
Yep.
And so we probably need to look at the ultimate section, that, what's this road gonna look like, and then push those sidewalks back even further. So definitely some design involved and probably some easement acquisition for that.
I agree, because it's a very narrow, even right-of-way in that area too,
Right.
so we'd have to look at some land acquisition. And I'm assuming that if that parcel does develop on the northeast corner of Waverly and 175th, that the developer might put sidewalks in.
Right.
So, yeah, I would say we need to start that study sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at it, get back to us as soon as you can. My guess is that Adam Boydston isn't going to go away just because we start studying it.
I don't think
He'll
so.
just keep coming with more information, which is great.
It's
because
wonderful.
I like.
Citizen involvement, citizen engagement, that's what we want.
I love hearing from Adam about this. Todd, anything? Rich?
Just one thing this week, after the citywide garage sale, we do have Devonbaugh come through and do the cleanup stuff.
Yes.
Do we send that out for bid, or is that just a itemized, cause
Yeah, in the past, we've actually been able to get a couple people quote us, like L&K, Deffenbaum. One of the issues, in years past, if we don't have a firm that has enough trucks to knock it out in one morning, we're picking the stuff up for weeks, because people keep putting stuff out.
Right.
And calling, say, you missed us. And so we try to work with firms that are large, that can devote the trucks. Waste Management bought out Defenbaugh and L&K.
Okay.
And so we couldn't even get a bid from L&K because they would be bidding against Defenbaugh, which is, they're all in the same. So, the price was, reasonable. It worked out to about $150 a ton. They brought in, 10 trucks. We don't have a final bill yet. We sent 7 trucks away completely overloaded, and then 3 trucks partially loaded. So that's the process.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
I'm really happy that that's back. I think citizens really like that, so.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I saw where somebody had said, we used to do it in the spring and the fall. I don't ever remember us doing it in the fall, but, you can't please everybody.
They'd even have a month if they could.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing that I've got, I went to the mayor's conference in the Governing Body Institute in Pico, Friday and Saturday. It was a really, good, worthwhile training. There will be more training opportunities through the league coming up. I'd encourage everybody, if you have the time, please, make the effort to raise your level of knowledge on municipal governance. I can tell you, on Saturday at lunchtime, the members of the league staff and some other people had a little fake council meeting to highlight, mistakes and whatnot, that common mistakes that people make. One of the interesting things for me was they started the public comments, and it was very comical, and they would stop and then say, well, so tell me what went wrong there, and people started chiming in, and let me tell you, nobody does, and I was kind of polling people informally, probably a couple dozen over the weekend, nobody does public comments for new business items. Nobody does people do public comments, but I mean the strictures are such, and they're set in stone, and it's like 3 minutes, or you have to sign up in advance. Nobody that I've talked to does any kind of public comments during work sessions, and I know we're going to memorialize that as part of the governing body rules of procedure eventually, but nobody's doing that. The only city that I know that's doing that is Roland Park, and honestly, they don't want to do away with public comments, but they're hoping to get better control of it because they've had some pretty wild meetings. So, I mean, that's going to be something that I add as part of my 2 cents to the rules of procedure conversation. But, the lengths that we've gone to over the past few years to get more information out to the citizens and to allow them more opportunities to communicate with the people on the dais really set us apart from other municipalities across the state. There's no doubt about it.
In a good way,
Yep.
That's right. Always love it when it's in a good way.
Yes.
And that's all I've got, and with that being said, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, second.
Motion, Harrison, second, Shute, that we adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we are adjourned. Make sure you never know.
I like it. I'm all about you. Anytime I can get something.